Ooh, wait. Got another one. So this one is this one is about. Sorry, I was having my PB and J. I know I probably got peanut butter. I always be having peanut butter on my face. Anyway, so this one is about a guy who is, the girlfriend is describing him as having a mental problem. He is a pretty nice looking man. She's a pretty nice, well kept looking female. Excuse me. I didn't catch where they're located at. But she's saying he's from North Carolina. He's saying he's a dancer slash stripper, you know, and that basically she didn't like him having that kind of a job, so he left it. But this in domestic violence is what I consider the what did I call it? Oh gosh, what did I call it? It slips my mind. Love tap phase. This is where people misconstrue somebody mushing them in the head and slapping them in the face, or pushing them in their chest, or punching them in their chest, or slapping them around as, oh, it's just love taps. This ain't abuse. This guy he's visibly under the influence of something. She's saying he's been drinking. He's acting nutty. He's acting like, crazy. And he is trying so hard not to get in trouble that when the officers separate them so they can find out like what's really going on. In domestic violence, that is a must. And I mean, I think with any crime, that's a must. The subjects have to get separated because they don't want nobody doing no subtle cues or speaking in no little encrypted talk where they're sending messages to each other and to make their story synchronize, even if something is taking place. So, but it's really essential in a domestic violence situation because, if the victim is regardless of what gender or age or anything, if the victim is in a situation where they can't tell the truth, it puts them at a bigger risk of staying in the situation. And a lot of times the abuser will stand really close by if a victim is on the phone, if the victim is texting, emailing, or in a situation like this where there's police and law enforcement present. The abuser will stay very close by because they don't want the beans to be spilled. They don't want nobody to know what they're doing or what they have been doing or what they intend to do. So they play, and a lot of the times abusers are like oversized kids. I'm going to be honest with you. They're like oversized kids. They think they're going to whine and make up stories, and they really look at you as like the missing parent in their life. If you are law enforcement, they look at you as the missing parent in their life, and they're trying to see, are you going to buy their little stupid lie? And that's really what they profess at doing. Like, once they know that there's a chance of them getting in trouble, they try to revert into a childlike form in their mind, and the games begin because they don't want to get in trouble. And that's where you get the enraged behavior where they're throwing tantrums, or they're willing to fight law enforcement, or they're willing to run away, or act like I didn't know nothing when they really know what they're doing. Now this situation thankfully is a lot less abuse going on, but it's still abuse. And this is the more common domestic violence abuse that doesn't always really end in like death, but a lot of the times it ends in continual abuse. It just keeps going and going and going because it keeps getting brushed off as minute. But really, any level of abuse is bad. So in this scenario, she said she lost her job because of him. I said that in the prior video. I said, listen, that's one of the first ways they try to control their victims is by messing up their jobs, not telling them get a different job. Like she suggested, I don't want you working as a stripper, And then another thing that all abusers do is they run the marriage card. He just ran that marriage card to the female officer. He said, I love this woman. I want to marry this woman. They always say that. Doesn't matter who the abuser is. Abusers always throw in the love card. They always try to infiltrate that they are so madly and so sincerely in love and dedicated to this person, because when people consider actual love, then they stop and they go, oh, we don't want to break up a loving couple. So that is their manipulation tactic. No, I love this person so much. Oh my God. So he did that. He threw it in there. I love this woman. I want to marry this woman. You don't want to marry this woman. You are in there mushing her in the head, making her uncomfortable inside the home. There's no way in the world you want to marry her. There is no loving and kindness in that. So I haven't watched all of it. I have like 5 more minutes to go. So I'm going to pause it and I'm going to watch the last 5 minutes, and hopefully this video will still be here. I'm still watching it. But what I do like, I like the assertiveness of the male officer. I like how he is just not in the mood for it. He's not holding no hunches. He's not in the mood for none of this jive turkey stuff that this abuser is bringing forth. He's like, stop, cut it out. Enough is enough. And I like that because it saves a lot of time. It saves a whole lot of time. And of course, there's always 2 sides to every story. So they're doing their due diligence. They're listening to the one person's side and the other person's side, allowing them to give account. But they're also listening for flaws in their statements. They're looking for things that are like, that doesn't make no sense. Right now he's rambling. So he's trying to deflect the conversation to seem like I'm just a regular person, and I'm not this abuser that she's trying to make me out to be. That's another manipulation tactic. They will talk about relative things to try and make the officers or any person who's trying to interject the abuse, to try to make them relate to them, so that way they feel like, good, I got you on my side. Especially in this kind of scenario where he's trying to avoid being apprehended and put away for jail or catching charges. He's really desperate to get out of detainment because they just have him detained. They just need to get information, and because of his intoxication and because of her because of the victim's statement saying that he's abusing her, they're like, let's just contain him just, for now. Excuse me. So luckily, she's documenting some parts of the abuse by catching videos of him cussing her out, ruining things in the home. Like I said, depending on the type of abuser that you're dealing with, you might be able to do that. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of abusers that are afraid of their victims. And to be quite honest, a lot of the times when abusers become abusive, it is because they have their own fear of their victim. And what that fear may be, it could be anything. It could be the fear of them becoming successful. It could be a fear of them falling in love with someone new. It could be the fear of losing them in general, like them just not wanting to be with them anymore. It could be anything that ignites their desire for abuse. But the main word is control, domination. Those are some of the top words. Right now, this is pretty much the end of it. They're just wrapping it up, viewing her footage. It's good if you're able to get footage. It's good if you're able to implant security cameras, whether they are visible or non-visible, in your home or in your environments, in your cars. It's good to let your neighbors know if you're close with your neighbors and they can be trusted. Ooh, what the heck is that? Wow, what the heck happened to her leg? Ooh, that was red, and she chocolate. She is brown skin, so her leg and her butt was like a burning red color. So I don't know what just happened, what he had did to her rather. I love how the victim is being very calm. She's not hyperventilating. She's not getting too overly emotional. She's not over exaggerating the circumstances by being overly dramatic, because all of that, and I know, yeah, they're going to send him away. All of that does help an officer or anyone to understand the level. Criminal trespass. Yep, that's another thing. He stole his girlfriend's car. That's all right. That one's over. That's another thing that abusers do. They steal belongings. You know what I mean? In this situation, he has stole his girlfriend's car a month earlier. Those are things they do. They try to steal your car. They try to damage your car, or they try to take ownership of your car. These are some of the things that manipulators do, and especially when they're in relationships with someone that they intend to be abusive towards. And in this situation, he lost his mind. It could have been because he really has a mental problem, like she was saying. Excuse me, I had peanut butter. Or it could be because he's under the influence, or it could be a combination of both. But at the end of the day, ladies, men, people out there, don't just assume because someone has this really good looking presence that they're wrapped tight. Okay? Abusers come in all shapes, forms, sizes, lifestyles, and there is no definite look to an abuser. An abuser is an abuser once they decide to abuse, and there are different cycles of abuse. The cycle that this one is showing is the love tap cycle, or the sibling rivalry cycle, where, oh, it's okay if I hit on you and push you around because I do that. I fight with my siblings, that type of mentality. Or I ain't really hitting you. I ain't yoking you up. I ain't, that type of stuff. But guess what? It's abuse if someone's touching you or talking to you in a way that you do not approve of. It is abuse. Okay? And you don't have to wait for it to get to where it is extreme, where you're walking around with bruises and other things that prove it. What she did was the right thing. She got video. She was brave. She was courageous. She was determined that regardless to what this could escalate into, I'm getting that footage. And let me tell y'all something. Your phone companies have access to your videos and things. So don't worry about if this person tries to delete it and stuff like that, because they have access to it. Everything you record goes into a database. That's what you're paying for. It goes into a database. Okay? And it just is what it is. And you have to understand, keep your locations on your phone device, so that way if they take your phone and they toss it somewhere to try to make it seem like you're somewhere that you're not, you can give full accountability. Of course, turn it off if you're not dealing with your abuser, because you don't want them tracking you. You don't want them tracking your photos. You don't want them stalking your social media. Just avoid letting them know the things that you know that they want to know, like where exactly are you, and who exactly are you with, and what exactly are you doing. It's okay to give them a false understanding of what's going on, because you don't owe an abuser no truth whatsoever. You have to stay away from them. This one was a lot less strenuous on the mind, but I'm gonna be honest with you. This is what most abusive relations look like. What this young lady and this young person, male person, are going through. They're in a home or a space where they live together. They're sharing quarters together. They are trying to lead a normal relationship type of life, where, hey, we go to work, we come home, we enjoy each other, but they're just not clicking. And you don't need to force a relationship. They're trying to force it. They're trying to make it work. But it's like, don't force it. If it's not working, it's just not working. Because what ends up happening is you resent him, he resents you. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth it. And that's how come it's really important that when you meet a person, that you treat them on the level of a mutual friend. No sex, no flirting, no disrespectful behavior one to another. Just straight up, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? And get to know the person on a friend basis. Because when you start doing that friends with benefits stuff, or when you start to test the water or test drive, whatever you want to call it, then you bring a different energy into that environment, and people begin to judge you. And usually it's the person you're dealing with that begins to judge you, and they might have had a high regard for you at first, and then they're just like, I don't gotta respect you, you don't respect yourself. And then sometimes that's where the abuse starts, when they come up with this thought that you don't respect yourself. And you always got to know that other people are going to put in their 2 cents. There's some people they meet and they just jump right in, and they have a great relationship. So it's just best to take your time with feeling out a person. And if you are someone who has had abuse in your past, you don't have to disclose that to your new person that you're dealing with, because if they are an abuser, they will use that to their advantage. and without them knowing, they are never going to know that that's something that you went through unless you bring it up to them. You know what I'm saying? And being transparent in your life doesn't mean that you have to tell every gory detail of your life. Being transparent in your life, it just means like you can let them know, like, oh, I haven't had like the most perfect life, but I'm still a happy person. You don't gotta give all the details, because it's your past, and your past did not include them. So as long as it's not something that would put them in danger, like health-wise or safety-wise, it shouldn't be something that you should feel obligated to talk about or to go into real detail. And if you do, you don't have to give them the real story. You don't have to give them any story. because it's your personal business, and let them think what they want. Let them, because even if you, even, okay, say if you did tell them, they can still take what you told them and turn it into something totally different, totally not the truth. So it really doesn't matter. They might misconstrue it regardless. The only people that you need to be truthful with is yourself, with God, of course, especially if you have God in your life. And when you are getting help from law enforcement and agencies that are designed to assist you, that's when you have to be the most truthful. Even to some of your friends, you might gotta be careful, because you never know what their intentions are if they're on your side. Same thing with relatives. You never know. They might be the very people trying to inhibit this type of stuff on you or in your life. So you have to know who you really want in your circle. And in this situation, it's just messy. And like I said, some abuse begins because of stuff like this. Look. Stuff like that. Some abuse begins like that. Getting around someone and forgetting that, listen, when you were not in a relationship, you weren't around each other 24/7. So you didn't get to be around them in their, I guess, down times or whatever you want to call it. But when you're in a relationship and you're around each other all the time, especially when you reside together, you're going to see your partner when they're not feeling well. You're going to see your partner when they're feeling well. You're going to see your partner when they're not dressed up. You're going to see your partner when they are dressed up. You're going to see your partner the way your partner sees themselves each and every day before they get themselves all ready to see you. And some people, they do live in this mystery world in their minds where they think that people really walk around perfect all day and all night. And I'm like, there are people who obsess with themselves that much, but the average person doesn't. Most people don't. Most people are just like, what? You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that last one was a little more of the typical. That's more like a typical domestic violence situation where you have it budding. If at any point in time he could get her to lose her confidence or make her cower, make her feel inferior to him, then the abuse would have definitely been way worse and ignited. He is the type of abuser who will abuse her through cheating on her, lying to her about his whereabouts, his pastimes, things of that nature, playing mind games. He's that type of an abuser. He's the type of abuser that's going to make it seem like everything is perfectly fine, but play on her mental to try to make her seem like she's possessed with him or obsessed with him, and in the meanwhile still do physically abusive things to her and her property and things of that nature. That is the jealous abuser. The jealous abuser is usually designed like that, where they just want to mess everything up about that person's life. She said it. He made her lose her job. That's horrible. You made this woman lose her job. She had to go out and get another job. So that is abuse. When you're with the person and they're messing up your money, they're trying to keep you from, or they're coming up to your job. They're literally coming up to your job. That's abuse. Mm-hmm. And people do end up becoming abusive. They do. They become abusive. If they go too much time dealing with abuse, sometimes they become the abuser. So in this situation, she was saying that she was fighting back. But of course, she obviously didn't want it to escalate past what it was at, and she got the law enforcement involved so that way it could be a peaceful end. There are a lot of domestic violence situations that come to a peaceful end where maybe the abuser might get charges or maybe just asked to stay away from the person, and they actually do. They actually just go on. They usually just go find somebody new to, be abusive toward. But unfortunately, for the next person, they gotta figure it out. But a lot of the times, most abuse situations, they don't really get as extravagant as some of the ones that we hear about where people are really badly damaged. A lot of general domestic violence cases, they go unnoticed, they go under the radar because an abuser will see it getting hectic and move on quickly just to go find someone else. And those are jumper abusers. They're the ones, they jump from one to one to one. They don't really care about staying in one specific relationship. They're perfectly fine with just going to someone else and abusing them. And you have to watch out for the ones that jump around and keep coming back. You have to be careful with those ones too. And like I said, some abusers are perfectly fine with just being your friend. They're perfectly fine because in their mind, as long as they have access to you, that's all they need. They're fine with not being able to, be your personal person. Excuse me. So you have to watch out for that. They might try to sabotage your new relationship, or they may just like knowing that they have access to you. I'm looking at my eyes. Anyway, so that one was a good one too. Check the link. It's going to be in the thing. And this next one, I actually watched a different video containing this couple where the husband, he's homosexual, but people will probably call him bisexual because he's married to a woman but prefers men. I don't consider that bisexuality. I just consider that he's a homosexual male who maybe he has too many people that he doesn't think they're going to understand his sexual preference. And so he chooses to be with a woman for the broader spectrum of it, but deep down inside, he loves men. And there are a lot of people that lead that type of lifestyle, and that's how they go about it. That's their approach, because they don't think that society or the people that they don't want to hurt, so to say, will understand that that is their actual true preference. So they live under the radar. He's what you call an undercover brother, so to say. He's a man who he prefers men, and that's his stronghold, but he's willing to sacrifice being with a woman in front of everyone else because it's cliche, and he doesn't want the backlash of him having to let people know that he really just prefers to be with a man. And so now he is being abusive by just basically throwing out everything about her that he decides that he doesn't like anymore about her, or that he has come to realize he doesn't like, instead of him just saying, you know what, I'm just going to divorce her because I'm just not happy in this relationship. He has to itemize it, and he has to tell the whole internet world, because when he came in the relationship, most likely for her money because she's disabled, and he came into the relationship most likely to humiliate her on social media and pretend to everyone that he was so in love with her. And I just noticed on the past video he was being super disrespectful to her when she wasn't even, on video she wasn't doing nothing that made sense why he was doing that. So, and it's just crazy. But relationships, that start, relationship that end funny is because they started funny to begin with, and that it's just the truth. You know what I mean? Same thing with anything in life. But thanks y'all for sending them videos. I got a whole list of different videos to watch. But I'm about to go back into my cruise ship killers binge because I want to see if they have some more episodes, because oh my gosh, they stopped out of nowhere and I was just like, when they gonna get some more? I didn't watch all of them. If not, I'll just watch them again. Some of them were really, really, really good, and some of them were good. You know what I mean? All right, that's enough for me for today. These people. But yeah, oh yeah, if you ever in a situation where you're dealing with the onset of like abuse, domestic violence, just remember that at the end of the day, that you do have options to get out. You don't have to equate that type of behavior to someone loving you. Don't try to fool yourself to believe that, because that is not love. Trust me. It's not love when someone's calling you names and we calling you names and speaking derogatory or treating you in a derogatory way. Even if, like I said, even if they're not blackening you up or really doing some really bad, super bad stuff to you, the fact that they're not treating you with kindness and love is enough. That's enough of a reason to say, no, I don't want that. Like, that's not what I want for myself. And some people really do equate that to love. They go, man, it's just a little this and a little that. And it's like, okay, I mean, if that's what you want, eventually it will progress into something way worse. So don't stick around for it. That's all I can say. Don't stick around if you don't have to. All right, that's it. Gotta go.